Hello, this is Broly SS Guy, and I'm back with another video. In this video, I'd like to talk about how I've been seeing a lot of YouTubers lately um, with thumbnails of Sony doing wrong and posting up, they're back, their Sony is in trouble and they're not happy and blah 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 blah. And it seems like these YouTubers are on your side. You feel me? And then once you watch their live streams and you listen to them talk. It sounds like they're more and more and more on Sony's side. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm gonna tell you why. 1 minute, remember, right? Before this announcement of the disc being removed from PlayStation 6, whatever, some of these YouTubers are saying, we don't want no PS6, right? And they still don't want it. But check this out though. We don't want no PS6. We got a PS5 Pro, the PS5 Pro, right? So what we're saying was they were seeing the majority of people saying how they don't want a PS6, right or wrong. And they were saying they were doing polls of it. Look at this. See, nobody wants a PS6. Nobody wants a PS6. And they were making songs about it. They were sitting there making all these videos about not wanting a PS6 to delay it and everything. Telling about the PS6 will be dead on arrival, right? So they were all for that. Where was the I didn't hear them saying then like, well, these the guys are saying that they're liars, they're frauds, they're just out here to get videos and get clicks, right? Where was that raised then? Where was the judgment of them being frauds and fake then when they were sitting there saying back then they wanted PS6, right? It was all with that. But now all of a sudden with this backlash to the disc being removed, now the people are sitting there saying they want their disc to be there or they want to buy the PS6 now, all of a sudden now, oh, you guys are liars, y'all are frauds. You're going to buy the PS6. Sony has you. Sony got you. Sony got him. Got him. I was like, what? It's like you're not making no sense. 1 minute before this even happened, you was all, oh yeah, anybody go buy the PS6? It's dead on arrival. The PS5 Pro for life. PS5 Pro. Push the PS6 by the 2030, 2040. Anybody go buy that thing? Anybody go buy that PS6? It ain't gonna sell no PS6. It ain't gonna sell that way. Anybody go buy it? It's not gonna sell, right? But now all of a sudden, when there's a big problem that Sony is facing, and that can actually land them to be bankruptcy or land them to to some serious trouble, all of a sudden it's like they're on the Sony, they got you now. You're gonna buy that PS6? How? How do they have you now? If they didn't have them before this happened about not buying a PS6, when the news wasn't as bad because it wasn't no kind of news about no disk drive being removed and people still didn't want the PS6. Now how is it more enticing for somebody to buy a PS6 now when they even finding out now there will be a disk drive? Make that make sense. Think about that. Do you see how dumb that sounds? Oh yeah, you want to buy it now because there's no disk drive. But you guys are frauds and fake. Right? You know what I'm saying? Y'all are frauds and fake. Remember now, before this happened, the majority were saying they didn't want a PS6. But now the backlash has happened. All of a sudden, it's a small portion of people that doesn't want the PS6. Y'all are very few, very small. Y'all Sony doesn't consider y'all a threat. Really? Even though Tyrone Magnus came out with a video saying that allegedly that those are analysts, the people that's been putting out those little videos saying that we don't matter, we only have 1% and all that crap, that they've been paid off. How about that? How about that? And another thing I noticed too is why haven't you showed those numbers of what the community had found that was lies of Sony sitting there saying that the physical versions are higher than the digital versions? Why you never showed that? Marlon Nation. Yeah, I'm gonna say your name, bro. Again, I got no problem with you, but I'm just calling it out, bro. Like, why you never showed the videos of the community showing those true numbers? But yet you want to go by these analysts right here that's so-called professional analysts in there saying that, oh yeah, we don't matter to Sony and they're gonna keep going anyway. Okay, now as far as Jason Schreier, I know he's legit and everything too. But hey, you know what's legit as well? Moore's Law. And Moore's Law sitting there saying, you know what, it's going to come. The physical distance is still going to come to PS6. And he sees it happening. So why you do a story about that? But see, you always want to do a story negative about what's because he does negative stories about the fan base of getting justice. He'll do this stuff about Sony getting over them more than how the fan base is actually doing something that might be helping more with this outcome. You know what I'm saying? Like anything that's like more positive for us to do, for us to get this the C of paying off is always negative with the information they push out. Oh yeah, but anyway, you only like 1%. It ain't gonna matter. You're not gonna do anything, right? Okay, if that's the case, then why is Sony giving out 50% discounts? If Sony didn't care about losing anybody, then why even bother putting on 50% discounts? What do you mean got them? Because they got discounts given to them. Just because they got a 50% discount doesn't mean they're gonna take the discount. And if they do, you know what they can do also as well? Unsub again. You know what I'm saying? They got a 50% free discount to unsub again. Well, not free, but you know what I'm saying? Like a discount, if they do it, which I doubt they will unsub it again. You know what I'm saying? So like, this is the thing though. My point is this: I don't like how people cherry pick topics and be like one is better. One information they had earlier about them saying the PS6 before this announcement was dead on arrival and nobody gonna buy it, and they felt like it was just you know it was locked in stone, written in stone, and that's it, right? But when it comes to this physical disc thing, all of a sudden when people are really showing it how outraged they are, all of a sudden now it's a fraud, it's fake. It's fraud and it's fake. But wouldn't it have been fraud and fake before this happened, when before the disc drivers even existed? Why wasn't it fraud and fake then? Why wasn't it fraud and fake then when before this big issue popped up compared to now? I'm sorry, compared to back then when there wasn't a big issue with this disc drive. But remember, it was all about just the price gonna be too high, and also the graphics not was not be good as a PS5 Pro, right? Now that's something minor compared to this right here for a disc drive being not putting on a very expensive console. Wouldn't that be even more reason for us somebody not to buy a PS6 and then get no disc drive? Make that make sense? All I'm saying is keep the same energy. Don't sit here be 1 minute sitting there saying when things in your favor of Sony being getting money off of people. That's another thing too. What I notice is you'll be like, yeah, Sony's gonna get the money off y'all. You know what I'm saying? Y'all are easy pickings. Like you know what I'm saying? When it comes to something to get money off of us, but when it's like something in favor for the fans, it's all it's like, oh, it's not gonna work. Oh, y'all ain't enough. Y'all, Sony don't care about y'all. You only 1%. Y'all didn't buy enough physical, but yet it's been proven wrong that we have been buying a lot more physical. But I noticed how you never stick to the topic of how Sony changed those numbers and they lied. I mean, if you think about it, they did do it because look, if they was pushing for this for so long, wouldn't it tell you, common sense tell you, well, they want to speed things up by lying and also using PC numbers probably as well, PC players numbers as digital copies, and they're probably saying this is from the our community for our PlayStation. They could be doing that, you know that, right? But you know what? I bet you they're gonna find that out too. I bet you. How much you want to bet Sony used PC players um sales for the prices of the digital. How much you want to bet? That's why they did it in the first place. They used PC players from 2020 to now, so that way they can get more digital sales outgoing. So that way they can sit there and say, "Look, it's just fine now. Look how many sales we got for the PC. I'm sorry, for the PlayStation players, which could pretty much be the PC players." And they just covered up as far as us being the ones that bought those digital games. Keep that in mind. PC and the PlayStation players that's digital alone can make up a lot of digital sales. Think about that. You got two. Okay, you got three because you do got the disc version. Guys who buy physical two, digital too, right? But my main thing is this: Sony could use those numbers and sit there and say the PC players um are PlayStation players and use that against us. That's my point, and I don't like that. But see, far as Marlon and other YouTubers as well, I don't see them talking like that. Everything with them is Sony's doing this. Sony don't care. You're not enough. But I understand he does say like, vote with your wallet. I get you. That's the only thing I agree with you about. What you saw about is vote with your wallet, unsubscribe, and not buy, or buy more physical. That's the only thing positive you said. But other than that, though, it's like when it comes to like putting the boot on stuff like that from the community, you're always negative. Oh yeah, y'all are frauds, y'all are fake, y'all ain't gonna do nothing right. Blah 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 blah. But let that be the PC players. Oh my God, Sony, you messed up your bag. What are you doing, Sony? The PC players are gonna stand for that, Sony, right or wrong. When it comes to the PlayStation, like the community, the console community, you're wrong, you're frauds, you're liars, you're this, you're that. And it's like, why is it gonna be that way? So I feel like to me, you're kind of selling for PlayStation as well, because you want to stay in the graces to get free games. Probably that's probably why you're doing it. I don't know, but I know you do call out something from time to time too as well. But like in this kind of situation, you should be calling out everything. Hiroki Toki's selling off his shares. You lightly touched on that subject. You talking about he didn't even do it on the inside trade. How you know that? How you know that man sit there and do an inside trade, which is illegal? He could go to jail for that. But yeah, he didn't want to go too deep in that subject, right? He avoided that. And then when it comes to like the law themselves can like close in on Sony, you like barely to the search services as well. You brush off them pretty fast. And there's more back to the analysis saying that Sony is sitting there. Sony won't don't care because y'all only 1% of the population. If you get like over 500,000 or 200,000 signatures or 500,000 signatures, do you realize? Do the analysis even know that the number could go higher than that? He was like what 5 million, 1, 2, 3 million. Look at Game Pass. They lost 5 million subscribers when the information happened about them boost of the sales of their prices. Do you really think that Sony can do the same? The our players can do the same thing. Our players can do the same thing as far as like unsubscribe from Sony. Come on, bruh. It's like you have no faith in our community. I have a lot of faith in our community that they can do this. I would do my part by buying physical, and they can do their part by unsubbing because I ain't gonna sub from. I'm sorry, dog. Like, I'm not unsubbing from Sony because like I love playing online, but I will buy my physical. I do my part by buying my physical games. So I do my part, they do theirs. So like, look, bro, you're gonna see. It's like I said, the PSG ever sit there and did it, and you won that battle. Another thing too is this: they act like people from that PS3 era is not still here today. I'm still here today. I'm from the PS3 era. So, what make you think a lot of the players that have physical disc won't stand up against Sony? Come on, man. We still here. We ain't going nowhere. You know what I'm saying? So, like, yeah, keep that in mind as well. Not everybody it's all about digital like that. Because Sony's numbers lie. That's another thing you don't talk about either. Is like the how the community sit there and show the true numbers of the sales of the PlayStation disc was outselling the digital, and they sit there and cover that up. Make that make sense? They covered all that mess up. God of War sold over like what 76% over like what 30% digital. Come on, man. Astrobot sold better. Sackboy sold better. All those games sold better than on physical disc. They said the only game that sold better on digital was this MLB The Show. Made that make sense. But yet, you don't talk about that subject. Nah, you want to focus on what Sony's analyst said and what how Sony is treating us. And I understand that part about how Sony is treating us, but like what the analysts are saying, all that kind of crap, and the numbers of Sony with 85%, and you try to sit there and say we're not doing our part when you were sitting there clearly showing you that if you look at those numbers that Sony lied about, that we did our part. And then I thought that Sony want to sit there lie and change the number around like we never did anything. That's Sony. I don't see you blaming Sony for that. Why you should be calling Sony out like why you change those numbers up there like that for? You ain't calling that out. I call them out. I said, look, why Sony? Why are you changing numbers on physical disc to like less versions of the physical being sold? You're not calling that out. You sitting there like, oh well, just brushing off the rug. Oh well, y'all ain't no accountants or y'all don't work for Sony. Y'all don't know what Sony sold. But yeah, people found it in the link in the what's it called the It's something at least show the numbers and everything, and also people got charts as well from like digging through stuff. You know what I'm saying? Hacking, whatever they did, they found the real numbers of the physical versus digital, and the physical was actually beating the digital out. And that's why Sony slowed down the production of their first party games. I'm starting to see that now. They did that so that way the physical versions won't sell as much as the digital versions. That's why they're doing that. One game a year. Come on, bro. And the games they're putting out are games that's not going to sell well on a physical disc, like Astro Bot and but it did so what I'm saying, like big talk games like Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3 or stuff like that. It's been pushed back for so far. And the games they're putting out like Concord and Marathon, who wants to buy that on a disc? I don't care about that game. Nobody wants that game. You know what I'm saying? Furry games coming up pretty soon. Now look, if Sony had put out Destiny 3 coming up pretty soon at this, that would sell by the millions, nigga. And I'm telling you it would. Destiny 3 would sell somebody that going physical copies. Sony's stupid. I'm sorry, bro. I don't want to keep hearing about no, Sony want to save money for putting this in. I've been hearing that this only costs a little, very few, much money. Very little money, right? If they got if they got the willpower to put out what is it called? A case, a physical case. They put a disc in it. Right? Who the world want to buy a physical case with a code? Make that make sense. Nah, man, we want a disc version in that game. What it is, point about the story is Sony is just greedy. And on top of that, these YouTubers out here, they are, it's like they are pretty much on Sony's side. I'm sorry to say that, guys. Like, I don't care how much they say that what I'm saying, it's wrong for Sony doing it. We keep hearing these guys sit there and say you have no power, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. They're not trying to like show no kind of like what's the word? It just seems like there's more on Sony's side. I'm just all I'm saying. Like um, it's just weird, bro. It is really weird. Like I said. You go from saying like the PS6 is not going to sell before things happen with this situation. Now all of a sudden the PS6 is going to sell. Make that make sense. You know what I'm saying? Like keep the same energy. You know what I'm saying? Like why? It's like you flip flopping from one sub to another of it being sold or not. To fit your narrative of saying that Sony's gonna keep us in the system. He'll keep us locked in. We ain't going nowhere. Blah 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 blah. And it's like really, but why would you saying that before the situation happened of the physical disc coming out, not coming out? You know what I'm saying? When it's all about the PS5 Pro and the PS5 Pro being sold and being like the best console ever, that should stay that way for 2020, 30, 2040 and up, right? But since the PS6 is coming out now and nobody wants it because of the disk drives, now it's all of a sudden it's like, well, y'all are frauds now. But y'all was the frauds before this happened. Before when everybody was just sitting there saying they want no PS6, right? I don't want no PS6, this and that, blah blah blah. It's a waste of money. And $1,000, and you know it's gonna be over $1,000, and the graphics will be the same as the PS5 Pro. That was so legit, right? It was so honest, and people was just so everybody was together for that, right? But all of a sudden now, when this disk drive subject comes up, everybody's liars and frauds. It's very little y'all that's gonna not buy the PS6. That tells me then before this happened, everybody's liars and frauds. You know what I'm saying? Liars and frauds that they was gonna still buy the PS6 even back then before this happened. And when they found out that the pitches would be higher than it was supposed to be, you know, so that's just crazy. It's weird to me, man. All I'm saying is keep the same energy and also start showing what the community is actually doing as far as like showing those numbers off. He didn't show not one time the numbers of the physical versus digital, not one time. But then you can sit there and find stories like analysts sitting there saying that Sony won't budge. You can happily find those kind of stories, right? But you can't find fans actually showing lawsuits being happen. You can't show stuff like that, right? You can't show the true numbers of the community of what really happened. You don't want to show that though. but just so what's working against us for Sony. That's the best thing you can do. Oh, see, look, Sony got you. They're gonna reel you on there with that 50% off PlayStation PS5 Plus. That's crazy, man. But anyway, guys, this is Brilliant. This guy signing out. One love, God bless. Peace.